This Quaker State 400 Betting Picks 2024 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITH. And of course, make sure to enter the free roll football contest. Up to $3,500 in prizes are up for grabs. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. It is time for the playoffs. All the drivers now have been
playoffs? We're talking about playoffs?
Listen, we are talking about playoffs. This is the postseason of NASCAR. And just like Walter saying, NASCAR playoffs, best time of the year. What a race by Briscoe. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for all you do. Walter saying hello to Andrew in the chat as well. Andrew says hello, lads. He's got a gut feeling that this is a Denny Hamlin week. Strangely enough, Cody.
Could be.
He's on either one of our actual
he's a tough guy to bet on super speedways, Rod. It's his odds generally not very favorable for what you're looking for super speedways. Not that any of the odds are very favorable for what you're looking for this week. But here we
God, Cody, what is going? I go to open up.
Well,
on Tuesday.
They figured it out, Rod. We've hit them square in the nuts too many times on the super speedways, and now they're like, "Fuck this! We're not going to give you, we're not going to give you a bunch of great options." We still got plenty of stuff. Trust me. Don't worry. Rod was making the little thing for the end of the show. The print is going to be small enough that I found plenty of things to bet on, but. It's definitely, they're wising up to how these races work and what to expect.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is that so I go to open up the books earlier today, as I start to make my actual picks. Right, research goes before picks go because it's like, well, what do you do first? You research and you see what drivers you want to be on, and then you open the books and you see whether or not the odds are favorable. And I was like, where are the odds? Like, this is Tuesday. I open them at the same time almost every single week, and there's nothing there. There's only outlets on Caesars.
Some people had days off yesterday, Rod. I don't know those people because I am not those people. You're not those people. But, some people took the day off. So I thought Labor Day meant you were supposed to labor. Apparently it's to celebrate not laboring. I don't know. Wouldn't difference. But, books sleeping a little bit. We're getting some stuff out there now. I mean, yeah, not a ton of head-to-heads out there still, but we kind of got the rest of everything else, and things are still trickling out as we're kind of going here.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do a playoff episode, actually a bracket episode later this week. So maybe we can sneak in a few of our favorite bonus bets in there as well as we close out the week when the books start to get a little more defined, as it were. So we'll sneak some in at the end of the week for you. But we got a lot of good stuff to cover today, obviously, as we always do. Say hello to Jessica as well in the chat. Hi, Jessica. And yeah, we'll get into
Jessica.
it. We are in Atlanta. I think I buried the lead. We're in Atlanta, the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Started the playoffs. We start with a super speedway race, and yeah, all hell's going to break loose this week, and we're here for it for sure. But also back this week is football. Thursday night football, Friday night football, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm just telling you right now, it's a great time to be alive right now. And the Sports Gambling Podcast is back, picking every NFL game against the spread like they've done since 2011. Some of you weren't even born back then. Okay, maybe some of you were. I don't know. I don't know how long 2011 was back in the day, but whatever. Sports Gambling Podcast is picking all the games. Make sure you go follow them, listen to them, subscribe to them if you haven't already. Plus, make sure to enter the free roll football contest, up to $3,500 in cash up for grabs. Sign up now at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. It's free. Listen, it is free. So just go do it. Don't him-haw around. DM Punk, I get why Rod may have to work on Labor Day due to official events. Why is Cody slinging suds on a holiday Monday? Give our guy some time to enjoy his own stash. I agree.
Well, DM, it's a very busy holiday for the beer. People are consuming a lot of it, and it doesn't put itself on the shelf, unfortunately. So we still have to do that, which I guess gives me a job. But yeah, it's tough for us to get those types of busy holidays off with the amount of beer consumed, which is great. We appreciate all of you for consuming all of that beer and keeping me very well employed.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people overlook what happens on holidays, and folks that, you know, beer suppliers, like you said, or bands, you know, that they're like, oh, you're in the band, that must be a cush job. Sure. But who do you think entertains you on the 4th of July, on Memorial Day, on Veterans Day? Who works all of those holidays that you enjoy and we're the entertainment for? But you know, again, I would have another job. I'd love it. I don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just, that's the way it is. Think about
That's the way it is. So it's all good though. But
it is all
yeah.
good. Atlanta.
We've got some news, Rod. Do you want to hit the news before we get started?
We do. Yes, there is.
Yeah. Brandon Jones signs a multi-year deal with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. He had a 5-year stint with Joe Gibbs before the previous, the last 2 years where he moved over to Junior Motorsports. He's going to be returning back there, multi-year deal. So he's going to be locked in at Gibbs again for a while, which in general, they don't do really long-term deals. Usually it's kind of year to year, but he did have 5 wins in his 5 seasons over there. And it's not gone well at Junior Motorsports for him. So he's going to be moving back over there. Of course, the Menards sponsorship moves with him. He is the son of the CEO for Ream. They're a big Menards partner. That's why that deal is there. And he's basically going to be able to race as long as he wants with that sponsorship because that's how it works. And he was actually, he had some very, very good races and times. And I think I keep trying to bet on him in this JRM equipment because I think I keep remembering the great times in JGR equipment, Rod. And maybe that's been my problem. So I'll likely be all over Brandon Jones again next year. But Junior Motorsports is going to swap crew chiefs for him and Sammy Smith. I guess that for some reason they feel like Sammy Smith's crew chief was not as good. I don't know. But yeah, they're switching, and I guess that's maybe hardly even notable, but it's there anyways.
Yeah, so I feel bad for Brandon Jones. I do, because we were on him a couple of years ago too, a lot in JRN or in a junior Joe Gibbs, and now in Junior Motorsports equipment, he's fallen off the wayside. But that 9 car, interesting.
Yeah, but that's another car open, and as you think of Carson Quadpool probably looking for a ride. Guys like Corey LaJoy still out there, maybe looking for a ride. Guys like Harrison Burton could be jumping into one of those rides. Like all of these guys are kind of potentially candidates to go into a car like that. And it's a premier ride, right? You're gonna have to bring your funding, you're gonna have to bring your money. Maybe Ryan Truex, maybe he doesn't have enough money for JIGR, but can get some for JRM. Who knows? And then, the other main thing that was announced over the weekend, Christian Eckes moving up to the Xfinity Series, going to leave Corey Heim to win every single race in the Truck Series next year. He's going to drive the 16 car, replacing AJ Allmendinger at Colleague in the Xfinity Series. So their lineup is complete. It'll be Christian Eckes, Josh Williams remains in the 11, and then Daniel Dye is moving full-time into the number 10 car. So, there's your Colleague Xfinity Series lineup.
That's actually pretty exciting, to be honest with you, because we know AJ's moving back up to Cup, so he's not going to be down. And I highly doubt that they're going to have him come down to do road courses now that Christian Eckes is going to be full-time in the 16. Obviously,
and they might still run that extra because, like this year, they have 3 full-time cars, then they're running the 10 as the extra car, right? They're getting rid of the 97 car, but maybe you still bring that in for some events here and there as kind of they've run in a quote-unquote all-star car for a few years, guys like Kyle Busch getting in it, and I think we've seen Austin Dillon a few times and some other Chevy Cup guys, and along with guys like Daniel Dye moving up and into that. So interesting, but I think that's a good move for Christian Eckes, kind of taking that next step moving forward.
Yeah, and you're right too. I don't know what the landscape of the Truck Series is going to be like with him gone. This is going to be if it wasn't Heim time already. Yeah. Like we're in for Heim time.
Well, and there's obviously a lot to go still in silly season, especially in the lower series. The Cup Series, we've got most of the answers, although there's still a few questions for sure. But we've got a lot of the big answers. But Xfinity and Trucks, there's some answers for sure, but some of that stuff is kind of in waiting as to see how the rest of the stuff falls into place, right? And do guys like Taylor Gray come back for another season, and is he more of a stepped up competition as Heim's teammate, or he's one of the candidates for one of the JGR cars in Xfinity? Maybe he just moves on up to that, and same with like Sawalich, and you never know who that next guy is and who gets the 19 right. I mean, that truck's fucking fast, so if you put somebody good in that truck, who knows what it could do and compete with Heim as well. So it's going to be fun to continue to watch silly season move along.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Haley Deegan's still looking for something. Maybe you put Deegan in the 19 and see what she could do in actual equipment that runs fast. I'm just saying there's plenty out there to deal with. We're going to have some fun over the offseason watching all of that happen. So, I mean, look, it's so crazy. Here we are in the beginning of the playoffs, still a couple of months left in the entire season, and we're still putting puzzle pieces into these teams. But
silly season really is it's a year-round thing. I mean, it starts way back in the spring and kind of goes through the entire season and even into the off season usually. So keeps us plenty entertained
like this weekend of racing will do. 2 series in action. The trucks are still relaxing on their F1 style vacation, but we've got Xfinity, we've got Cup. Of course, this is the Cup Series episode, and we'll talk about Atlanta, and we'll talk about all the fun we're going to have. But first, let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. The NFL's back, and there's a ton of Pick'em specials to get you started. And you can also now use specials and boost on all flex entries. Of course, we've been doing this all season long with our NASCAR picks. We could do it again. We're going to do it again this weekend with the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series picks. So make sure you stick around for that. And of course, check out our socials, as we tend to post extra picks on our socials as well as YouTube for that. So in the meantime, sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first time offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Look, our picks have been doing pretty well lately, so you might want to get over there and hop in on this. It's free money, essentially. So not only are you getting the $1,000 bonus in cash, but you're also getting picks that are getting you above board. So head over there now. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. All right, it is the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Cody. We are set for, as I pull this thing up right now, 260 laps around this 1.540 mile track for 400 miles. This is super speedway racing, Cody. Ever since they repaved this, ever since they redid this, that's all it is. Like, I know we say it's a mile and a half, so it's not the full super speedway experience, but I feel like these guys have just made it exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And like, look to this race last season, Rod. AJ Allmendinger finished in 3rd. JJ Yaley in a Rick Ware car finished in 7th. Justin Haley in 8th, Ricky Stenhouse in 10th. Like, it's a super speedway race. It really is. So, if you're looking back at statistics, 2022 is the first season. So we've got 5 races to a year, so we got 5 races under our belts in this track configuration. 2001 races and before mean absolutely nothing, zero, zilch. This is essentially a completely new track because it is the super speedway package. It'll race like a super speedway. It does seem to be sometimes less chaotic, but we've seen the full chaos as well. And then we've seen the 250-1 Corey LaJoie's leading with 2 laps to go. I mean, it provides all of that. Of course, you go back to the spring, we get the 3-wide finish. What a finish that was with Suarez winning and Busch and Blaney being right there. And it was like that. If you need an example of why this is super speedway racing, look at that, because that's what it was, right? And so we just had Daytona 2 weeks ago. You could obviously take some notes from that. As far as my research goes, super speedway guys are super speedway guys for the most part, in my opinion. So I kind of look at all 3, Atlanta since 22, Talladega, Daytona all together, but lean a little bit more heavy into some guys maybe a little bit better at Atlanta. It does race slightly differently. It's obviously shorter, a little more compact, but you're just in the gas and in the draft throughout the whole race. So same super speedway speech as always. Take it light. You go easy. You sprinkle it in a million places. You expect to lose it all. If you come out on top, you come out on top. If you don't, it's super speedway racing.
Yeah, there's really no other way to handicap this. I mean, we've taken so much as the DFS to spin a wheel to see who we're going to back on this one, because you never know. All those cars could end up upside down in red by the end of the day if something happens at the front of the pack and it wipes everybody out. We've seen it before, and we'll see.
And I mean, like half of these bets I'm going to give out, these guys have finished top 5 in half of these Atlanta races, and then they've finished 35th in the other half, because you get one or the other, right? It's your wrong place, wrong time. You get caught up in these wrecks. It's just how it goes in that super speedway racing. So keep that in mind as you go into the weekend. That being said, I think we got some pretty good picks for you, Rob.
I think so too, and I think it's time to get right into them, Cody. What are we going to start with on this fine Atlanta weekend?
Well, Rod, it's been a little while since we've had a super speedway race 2 weeks ago at Daytona. So I don't know if you have the stone tablets over there, but could you read off the first commandment, the only commandment really, to super speedway betting?
And the Lord stood on the mount and said to his disciples, the only thing to know is thou shalt always fade Kyle Larson on a super speedway. So saith me. Thank you very much.
Yes, and that's how it was written, and so it was said, or whatever. But Kyle Larson, we have to have this conversation every time we come to a super speedway. Greatest driver in the world. He'd kick Max Verstappen's ass. He's awesome. He's amazing. Absolutely love him. Great in anything and everything he gets into, anywhere and everywhere, except super speedways, Rod. He's just not good at them. 45 career super speedway starts in the Cup Series, or drafting tracks as we call them these days. That's Daytona. That's Talladega. That's Atlanta since 2022. 1 career top 5 in 45 races. We had that bet on him at Daytona. Lead 6 laps, right? He's going to be up there. He's going to be mixing it up. He's going to be looking fast. You're going to be thinking, he looks fine to me. And then there's going to be a wreck. And as the smoke clears, you're going to see the 5 car, skating sideways, coming out of the smoke. And you're going to be like, he did it again. And I think his 5 finishes at Atlanta pretty much show that, Rod. He finished 32nd in the first race here since the reconfiguration, 6th the next race, 31st in the race after that. But then he had a nice, strong 13th place run. Maybe he's figuring it out. Maybe not. 30th place here in the spring. 5 races in the super speedway package for Kyle Larson. 4 of them he's finished 30th place or worse. That is it's Kyle Larson, not good. So to fade Kyle Larson, pretty much take anybody you can get against him in head-to-head. That's my advice. Not a lot of head-to-heads available right now, as we kind of mentioned at the top of the show, but the one I'm seeing right now, Chase Elliott over Kyle Larson, minus 130 over on Bet365. I do not love minus money bets. I don't love minus 130 bets, especially on super speedways, but when you get the chance to fade Kyle Larson, you have to do it. We did it at Daytona. For the most part, it pans out. And look, Chase Elliott was one of the guys I took over Kyle Larson, and he ended up wrecking before Larson did. That can happen. That's all, it's not a guaranteed thing. But the thing that's going to happen 1 out of every 45 times, at least so far, is he's not going to finish inside the top 5. He's not going to have a good day. Whereas these other people can at least get to the finish sometimes. And Larson just can't for whatever reason. And it's just not his type of racing. Chase Elliott, though, really good here. 6th, 1st, 13th, and 15th in his 4 starts. All very solid results. He's only got 4 instead of 5 because obviously he missed 1. But he has beat Larson in all 5 or all 4 attempts that they've gone head-to-head here. So give me Chase Elliott over Kyle Larson at -130.
But Cody, when he's leading 5 laps in the front and he's running in the top 10 with 15 to go, then he's going to be the greatest car. Oh, look, he just spun out. Never mind. Yeah. I mean, again,
sometimes it's over, Tom. I'm telling you, he'll be up there leading. He's going to lead laps. If they give that bet again this week of, Kyle Larson more than 5.5 laps led, a 4-1 or more like it was last time, I would take it again. But just he's not any good. Dry Oval Life checking in over on the Facebook. Corey LaJoy would be the best long shot considering he's done the best overall since reconfiguring Atlanta. Personally, I love it. I think it's great racing. Big fan of the super speedway racing. We had Corey LaJoy, Rod, which we'll get into this later. 250 to 1 to win the race, leading with 2 laps to go. Ugh, painful, heartbreak, but don't worry. There's an entire section on Corey LaJoy later in the show.
Yes, there is a lift, as you would have to say. All right. So my first bet is I'm going to do another head-to-head. Like Cody said, I don't like this number. I don't like what it is, but I do think that this has a very good shot at cashing, which is why I'm going to suggest it. We didn't get a lot of options, but I think this is, other than Cody's cement bet, this one's a pretty good option. And I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, yeah, okay. It's Tyler Reddick over Michael McDowell, -130 over on Bet365. I know that everybody fancies McDowell as this super speedway, just second coming of whatever, right? But you look at his finishes this season. Daytona, he started 2nd. Well, that's a great super speedway start, Rod. Yeah, he finished 36th. In Atlanta, he started 1st on the pole even. We were like, oh my God, Michael McDowell's for real this season. Now that was an 8th place finish there, which is fine. And that's a very respectable finish, but still not a win. Talladega starts on the pole again. Oh my God. Now, if there's a pole bet out there for Michael McDowell in a super speedway, I'd take the shit out of that.
I'd be looking out for that for sure.
100%. But yeah, Talladega starts on the pole. Guess what? There's a red crash by his name and he finishes 31st in this one. At Daytona, you're like, outstanding. He starts on the pole again. Oh, 30th place finish and a crash by his name as well. Not good on super speedways this season. It's been biting him in the ass. And then if you just look at his season altogether, right? He's only got 6 top 10 finishes, 6 DNFs, as many DNFs as he got top 10 finishes. His average finish this season, 21.1. I don't care if it's a super speedway, if it's a go-kart track, if it's your local high school track. I don't care what it is. He just hasn't necessarily been running all that well this season. Pocono 24th, Indy 16th, Richmond 15th, okay, Michigan 19th, Daytona 30th, Darlington 28th. I mean, these aren't numbers that are beating the regular season champion. I mean, you talk about the string of top 10 finishes that Tyler Reddick was on before that 28th at Daytona that he crashed out, which, by the way, he just so happened to finish better than Michael McDowell even in that race as well. But 1 Michigan, 3rd at Richmond, 2nd at Indy, 6th at Pocono. I'm not going to read off all of his stats because they're all damn good. 18 top 10 finishes this season. He's only got 2 DNFs, even in these super speedway races. I know that Tyler Reddick started 3rd in Daytona 500. Yeah, he's got a red crash by his name too, but he finished 29th, which was still better than Michael McDowell. The only super speedway this season in which McDowell has gotten the best of Tyler Reddick was Atlanta, where Tyler Reddick finished 30th and Michael McDowell finished in 8th. Talladega, oh yeah, Tyler Reddick won. So he's already got a super speedway win under his belt this season. I know we've got a little more to say about him over the course of the show, but I love this matchup. Tyler Reddick over Michael McDowell. It's happened all the times. And I know that Michael McDowell's got more better finishes here than does Tyler Reddick. Michael McDowell, 8th place in his last start here in the spring. Like I said, 4th place in the fall of last year, but 21st and 15th before that. Tyler Reddick falling on hard times here, 30th in the spring, 27th in the fall of last season, but 5th in 2023. So Again, I'm riding the momentum of the regular season champion. He's got a lot to prove after his stomach gate of last season. He's going to have those snack packs in his car, so I think that'll give him an extra boost. But yeah, give me Reddick over McDowell at -130.
Oh, I do not love -130 matchups, Rod, unless they are in conjunction with the commandment. But I will wish you the best of luck nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like I said, if they gave us better numbers on this, I'd love it the hell out of it. But
yeah,
sometimes
one
you just pick the battle.
one point I did want to touch on a quick that you were talking about in there. McDowell starting first, whatever. Starting position means absolutely nothing here. If you have a qualifying bet, if you can get McDowell, honestly, if you can get McDowell at 5-1 or more, I would take it. So when the qualifying bets do come out, just go bet on those early because everybody's going to be hammering McDowell because he's been really fucking good at super speedway qualifying this season. I was kind of wondering with him leaving Ford and all that, how that would go. Well, he got the pole again at Daytona 2 weeks ago. So, I would consider looking at that for sure. But starting position means absolutely nothing here. It's a super speedway. You're going to go to the front to the back. You're going to go back to the front, and just don't look into it. I don't even know if they're practicing this week. I don't care if they're practicing this week because it doesn't matter.
I don't know who's out there who's seen Down Periscope, that movie with Kelsey Grammer. And for those kids who have no clue who Kelsey Grammer is, I honestly don't care. But there's this one scene in Down Periscope where the old man that seemed to be just living on the submarine that they took over was pouring whiskey in the fuel tank. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's whiskey. It thins out the mix and it gives you 15 more RPMs per." And that's what I imagine Michael McDowell doing on qualifying day, just pouring whiskey in his gas tank so he can get a few more RPMs out there.
Yeah, they got something. They got something figured out for qualifying because he's been very good at super speedway qualifying this year.
He sure has. All right, let's get down to some more bets. But first, let's get to our friends at Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Of course you have. Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Of course you do. SGPN Proud's partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trends analysis to give you even more betting insights. Rhythm College Football had me on Colorado versus North Dakota State under 59.5, which was a sweet cash. Gotta love it. Look out for your favorite ones this week and claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Admit it, you can't stand buying tickets for anything. I almost don't even like buying tickets for the movies anymore. I wish Game Time would jump on this for me because that'd be fun. But yeah, buying tickets for concerts, buying tickets for whatever sporting event you want, it's all a hassle nowadays because sometimes you don't know if you're getting ripped off with fake tickets. You're getting gouged when you hit checkout because you think you're paying one price, but then when you hit go ahead and check out, they tack on $1 million more worth of fees to get out of the app altogether. Deep breath, everyone, because Game Time takes all of that stress out for you. They're going to give you proper tickets that are guaranteed. They're going to give them to you on time. They're going to take away all the fees and all of the last minute deals and everything like that you are stressed about. And they're going to make all of this easier for you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code SGPN for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we will continue on with our bets, but first let's say hello to Laura. She says, yes, she's seen Down Periscope. Thank you very much. Jessica's saying Whiskey Tuesday. I think that needs to be a thing.
Hey, I think every day should be a whiskey day, Rod. So, yeah, there you go.
While I pick up my chair.
You pick up your chair, Rod. Walter was checking in earlier as well, asking about our thoughts on the schedule and everything. I will say that's definitely something we will get into in the off season. As if you've been around, if you're not, maybe you're new. But if you've been around, we go all year long. We'll be into the off season. Maybe not 5 days a week as much, but we have, and the list keeps getting longer. I haven't really shown Rod my list yet, but he's gonna love it. There's a lot of things to talk about. Schedule is definitely gonna be one of them. We'll go over all the changes and kind of what we expect through all the changes and what we like, don't like, and all of that. So hard to there's not a lot of time during this season. So we'll talk a lot more about that in the off season for sure. Now let's talk more about some bets for this weekend at Atlanta, Rod. Boy, the top 10 market has been obliterated. They do not love us this week, and that's okay. So my thoughts on this are it's very, very tough to not just go to the bottom and click on a couple of guys, basically, and that's what I'm going to do. So give me Justin Haley at plus 425 for a top 10. I actually really like this. This is probably my favorite one as far as, well, maybe outside of one other guy, but I'm sure you know who that will be later. This is my favorite one. After that, top 10 over at Hard Rock for him is plus 425. I'm also going to take Daniel Hemrick. That's right, Rod. I said his name. I don't think I've touched him this season, but I'm in 7-1. And crowd favorite BJ McLeod at 10-1 for these top 10s. I read you the finishing order from last year's Atlanta race, right? And you definitely got some upset guys in there. This is the super speedway race. It's going to end up where these guys are going to have a chance. So just like any other super speedway race, you have to survive the wrecks, be there at the end with a chance to win. For Justin Haley, he's actually, so we talked about him last week at Darlington. He was always better at Darlington in the spring, not as good in the fall. That actually held true. Well, it's been the opposite here at Atlanta. 20th place in the spring. That's actually really for a top 10 at plus 425. Laura, I'm not going to say Eric Jones yet. That's a different bet later. Sorry about that last week. But anyways, Justin Haley, 20th in the spring, but 8th place last fall. That's a top 10, by the way. Spring of 23, 22nd place again. But in that summer race, 7th place, 11th place in the first race here back in the spring of 2022 as well. So 3 of the 5 races, he's been inside the top 11, 2 of those inside the top 10. So that's pretty good, right? And the other 2 races, which are both spring races, 22nd and 20th. Again, if you're 22nd or 20th, you're not that far out of the side of a top 10 on a super speedway, get this late chaos or whatever may happen. Haley has proven himself to be very good. He's also got a top 20 in 5 of the last 6 races at Talladega. Good super speedway driver. He's won at Daytona before, obviously kind of a weird thing, but sometimes it takes weird things for stuff like this to cash. And so there you go. But Daniel Hemrick, 18th place in the only Cup Series start he has here, which was earlier this spring on this configuration. When he was in the 8 car, they were on the old Atlanta, so it doesn't matter. 8th place there. But 2 weeks ago at Daytona, Rod, survived the chaos, got to the end, 9th place finish. He has 4 top 18 finishes in his last 5 races at Daytona. You like to see that. Again, that's getting to the end of these super speedway races, being in position. If you can be in the top 18, you can be in the top 10, especially at 7-1. 9th place at Talladega earlier this year as well. So already multiple top 10s on super speedways this year for Daniel Hemrick. Just kind of a guy that goes under the radar. I mean, there's nothing exciting ever about Daniel Hemrick. Anything he does is not exciting. And you're kind of like, oh, yeah, Daniel Hemrick with a decent finish. Okay, whatever. But he actually has some pretty solid upside when it comes to top 10s, super speedways, especially when we're struggling to get good numbers to bet on here. And then BJ McLeod, Rod, he's going to be back in the 78 car. By the way, we did not talk about the entry list. Thanks for letting me forget about that. I will pull that up here in a minute and go over it. But BJ McLeod is back in his 78 car, but starting all the super speedway races this year in that. So he has been in all 5 of these Atlanta races, and 3 of them, he's got 19th, 20th, 24th place finishes. Pretty decent, right? Not top 10s, but at 10-1, 9, 10, even 14 spots outside of it. That's one more wreck. That's one more overtime. That's one more whatever. And suddenly BJ's right there. Just finished 19th at Daytona a couple of weeks ago. He has 2 top 11s at Daytona in the last 6 Cup starts there. Pretty solid for BJ McLeod. So those are my top 10 darts. Just kind of tossing those out there as longer shots. You hope for some chaos. Hope these guys survive. Justin Haley at 425. Daniel Hemrick 7-1. BJ McLeod at 10-1.
These are the darts that you're throwing out when you're trying to sucker someone into thinking that you don't know what you're doing. Like you're just tossing them out. People are like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden when they challenge you for a beer, then you start throwing the ones that are hitting the bullseye every time, or the triple 20s if you're playing whatever.
Bingo. Bullseye, Rod. You got it. Real
Bingo.
Quick on the entry list, since we forgot to cover that. 38 entries, they'll all make it. Cody Wareback in the 15, SVG in the 16, JJ Yaley in the 44, BJ McLeod in the 78.
Not too bit different, but good enough to be to have the good long shots.
SVG chant. Oop.
SVG.
SVG. Speaking of SVG, Rod.
Fine. I will take SVG as the top 10 car at plus 350. Jessica, you read my mind 100%. I'm taking SVG as a top 10 car, especially at 3.5 to 1. Like Cody said, man, these top 10 odds are junk this week. So this is one of the longer top 10 odds out there, besides what Cody gave out. But again, one with a chance, in my opinion, for SVG. We saw the 16 car go out in Daytona and log a 6th place finish. Of course, that was AJ Allmendinger, and we all know that AJ Allmendinger is a very accomplished super speedway racer. However, look, SVG has just been learning. He has been putting it together. Last week at Darlington, finding a way to get a top 10 finish, a fantastic top 10 finish on something that's not a road course out there. And you got to love that. I mean, that's not a super speedway. You can't compare the two. However, he's been learning how to keep himself in the mix and out of trouble, I think is what it's all about. And I think he even got caught up in a little something in that as well and still managed a top 10 finish in that race. Atlanta in the Xfinity Series, 3rd place finish for SVG in that 97. So he can do it. I mean, it's Cup cars. I get it. It's a big difference from the Xfinity Series cars. But as far as racing is concerned, he's forgotten more about racing than most people know. And I think he's going to get back up there into Atlanta. And Atlanta's a different beast than Daytona, than Talladega, which, by the way, Daytona, he did finish 12th in the Xfinity Series, 22nd in Talladega earlier in the spring, and then 25th at Daytona later on in the season. Hasn't really fared all that well in the Cup Series on super speedways. Talladega 28th place, Daytona 35th. He had an engine problem in that one as well. So, but again, these are drivers, or this is a driver that's really good and been an accomplished winner in the series that he's been in before. He's learning how to put together good runs in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. He's got himself now a ride, right? So locked and solid in. Look, here's the thing. SVG at plus 350, one of the longer shots out there. I'm going to take that all day long and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I wish the number was a little bigger, but based on what we're getting for options, again, it's tough. And so I do like it. He's definitely somebody I had circled to look at, and you already had him in the doc. You beat me to it. So, but yeah, we've talked about SVG, so many times this year, and he offers a lot of value on these types of bets. So yeah, love it with you, Rob.
Indeed. All right, what's next?
All right, going to hit some top manufacturer markets. Going to go over to the Ford camp first. We've had this conversation so many times on the show before. Don't need to break it down for you again, but guys can have issues, right? Martin Truex Jr. can take out Ryan Blaney on the second lap of the race, and suddenly, boom, there you go. That's one top Ford contender out of the way, right? Then somebody else has a problem, whatever the case may be. So I'm taking 2 Fords, 1 shorter shot, 1 longer shot. Austin Cindric at 8 to 1. He's a guy that I really like this week, Rod. Going to be out there playing it safe, racing for points, playoff driver, right? And I think that he could have a solid, strong finish at the end of the day. Again, to be the top finishing Ford, maybe you have to finish 4th or 5th. Maybe you have to finish 11th or 12th, right? It depends how the race goes. Depends on the chaos. Austin Cindric, though, has been pretty strong here. In the 3 of the last 4 here, he's been inside the top 12, including a 4th place finish back here in the spring. That's pretty solid, right? He's obviously a Daytona 500 winner. 3 top 15s in his 7 Daytona starts. Very good there. 2 top 10s in the last 4 races at Talladega. So all around super speedway guy, very good. He can find his way to the finish at the end of the day. That's what you're looking for. Rod, he did it 2 weeks ago. Give me Harrison Burton, 25 to 1 to be the top finishing Ford. It's hard to go back to back on super speedway, especially for somebody who's never done it before, but he's just playing with house money now, right? They made the playoffs. If he goes into Atlanta, wins and upsets every single, you think there's anybody that's going to pick him other than Kim and Jeff? and maybe his girlfriend, maybe, not even for sure, to advance past the first round of the playoffs? No, they're not. What if he wins Atlanta? That'd be crazy. Doesn't need to win this, though. Just be the top finishing Ford. Obviously, he just won at Daytona, so you like that. He's been top 11 in 2 of the last 4 here. If you look at his overall super speedway career, it started out not very good, really, to be honest. There's like you would see him always mixing it up, and he'd always get in the wrecks and stuff. But he's actually gotten a lot better at them, and he's improved a lot. Obviously, winning at Daytona, top 11, 2 of the last 4 here. He was just 10th place at Talladega earlier this season as well. So very strong year he's having, playing with house money. A lot of confidence in that kid. So I think Harrison Burton could get it done. So Cindric 8-1, Burton 25-1. In the top Chevy market, Rod, it's the same thing. You take a couple of guys, you sprinkle them out there. Zane Smith, 80-1 to be the top finishing Chevy. Nobody could ever be an upset top finishing Chevy here before, right? I think I've cashed it on Corey LaJoie 2 or 3 times. Just at Atlanta alone, 80-1 for Zane Smith. Look, he's still looking for a job as far as we know for now, right? Needs to impress. He was 35th here in the spring. His one career started at Atlanta. Hard to measure that. Got caught up in a wreck early. That's going to happen, right? 3 career starts at Daytona in the Cup Series, 13th place in all 3. In the mix at the end. That's what you're looking for. He has won both of his last 2 starts in the Truck Series at Daytona. Pretty solid there. His last start in the Truck Series in Atlanta in this configuration, 5th place finish, so had a strong day there as well. So I'm liking Zane Smith here lately. Think they're figuring some stuff out. He's putting stuff together. Just get there, be there at the end. Again, there's a lot of Chevys, yes, but there's not that many Chevys, right? And if they get caught up in wrecks, you don't have to worry about guys like Kyle Larson because he sucks at super speedways. Somebody's going to clip that out and take out the super speedway part. But so yeah, Zane Smith 80-1. And then Rod, one more, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 20-1. He finished 6th here in the spring. Pretty damn close to being the top finishing Chevy. Obviously, Suarez won the race. Busch was up there. He wasn't the top finishing Chevy, but in position to be that guy. He was 10th place last fall, 17th last spring. So 3 races in a row, getting to the end, being there. He's won twice at Daytona, 6 top 12 finishes at Daytona. He was 4th at Talladega earlier this year, 7 top 5 finishes there. Very good super speedway racer in Ricky Stenhouse.
Love it. I know people are going to be all over Ricky Stenhouse because that's just the way Ricky is. He could be Ricky Stenhouse by the end of the day, but we'll see how that works as well.
You're going to get one or the other usually, but if he's there, that's the thing is like both of them, and like especially the Burton and Ricky Stenhouse part of it's like they could both finish 36th and 38th, or they could be in the mix to win the race at the end of the day, and they both won super speedway races before. Kyle Larson hasn't, so there you go.
No, he is not. I know he's the world's best race car driver, but he's the world's best race car driver on anything other than big super speedways. So speaking of super speedway winners, how about Daniel Suarez? We haven't really talked about him much at all other than your name or you mentioning him just a second ago. Top 5 is only plus 275. Like I say only, but I mean is plus 275. It's kind of a big number for a guy who literally just won earlier in the spring. Do I think he's going to win again? Probably not, but I will say that that's kind of a disrespectful top 5 number for a guy that in the last 2 races on this track has finished 2nd and 1st. Granted, he finished 29th in 2023 in the spring, but 6th in 2022 in the fall and 4th. So 4 out of his last 5 races here have all been top 10 finishes. 3 of those have been top 5 finishes. 3 out of 5 top 5 finishes for Daniel Suarez on this track. Now, I get it. If you look past it, if you look at like Daytona, right? Daytona has not been a good track for him. 20th, 34th, and 40th, the last 3 finishes for Daniel Suarez on that after a 7th place showing in 2023 at the Daytona 500. Oh, Talladega, it's been a little better for him there. 26th, though, earlier this year. 10th before that, 9th, 8th, 31st, 23rd, 23rd. So not the greatest of super speedway racers, but a good racer here in Atlanta. Something about this configuration, something about what they give him at Atlanta puts him in the mix for a top 5 finish almost each and every time. And I think that's going to happen again this time around. And at almost 3-1, that feels like a steal for the guy that was mixing it up and won the race here at in the spring and put on a really, really good finish. Again, I know that this hasn't been Daniel Suarez's season overall, and it's definitely not something that's highly encouraging as you look through his list of accomplishments. But I will say that at Indy had an 8th place finish, Richmond 10th, Michigan 8th, Daytona, had that car caught on fire and he finished dead last. But again, I think he was still sort of in the mix there on that one as well. And then 18th place at Darlington. So a little encouraging for the 99 that did see running halfway well. But again, something about this track, something about the way he does it is something I like. I know Laura says Daniel's definitely not predictable. No, but on this track, he's pretty damn close.
Yeah, that's what I remember, like recapping that race was, man, like we hadn't talked about Suarez because we generally don't talk about him very often, but looking back, he'd been consistently pretty good here. So coming off of winning here, obviously, another guy. That's the thing too. I did see Walter asking, in your opinion, do you think it's going to be a championship contender that wins the race or somebody from outside the championship picture? It could go either way because you're going to get a combination of guys trying to play it safe, guys trying to take it easy and score points and not wreck out. And you're going to get guys that like probably Harrison Burton's, Daniel Suarez's that are going to be, we got to go get these points because, this is our chance to make it to the next round. And like I think is Talladega in the next round. So, there's opportunities to continue to advance through the playoffs here. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Next up for me, Rod, we're going to move over to the Toyota market. I already gave you top Ford, top Chevy, top Toyota. Look, they're killing the value on these top 10s. They're catching up in other places, but the manufacturer market is a place where you can hit these bets. Look, just go through results on super speedways and look and see who was the first finisher in any given manufacturer, any given race. And sometimes you're like, it was who? Like it really plays out that way. So you've got to take some sprinkles on them. Going to go over to the Toyota market. There is 8 Toyotas in this field. I'm going to split it up and take the 3 longest odds ones because now these 3 only have to beat 5 other guys in this entire race. Martin Truex Jr., by the way, don't know if you've noticed, so retired that he stops racing on lap 2 of the Southern 500. And, so you could kind of take him out of the equation because you don't really have to worry about him. He's finished, I think, 20 drafting track races in a row or something is what I heard, but like almost all of them, it's been on the damage clock, and like he gets involved in the wreck, somehow limps it home. He's just he's always just like driving around having a beer at the end of the race, and so not too worried about him. But the other Toyotas, obviously, Denny should be good, Reddick should be good, Bubba should be good, but they can get caught up in them. So we're gonna go with John Hunter Nemechek 25-1, Eric Jones 12-1, Tyrone Gibbs at 8-1. John Hunter Nemechek, actually pretty good at super speedways. 21st in his one start here at Atlanta in this configuration. 4 for 4 finishing in the top 15 at Daytona. Top 15 could easily be top finishing Chevrolet or top finishing Toyota rather. 2 for 3, top 8 finishes at Talladega. Very good there as well. So give me some John or Nemechek. And then Eric Jones. Look, I know that we tried him last week. I'm sorry, Laura. Change the channel for a second, but this is just, it's a matter of attrition, and it's a matter of, there's just not very many. You're playing the numbers game, I guess is kind of the point that I'm trying to get to here, because there's not a lot of Toyotas here, and Eric Jones is pretty good at super speedways. You go back and you look at all the things he's done at Talladega. He is extremely, extremely good there. I somehow lost his Atlanta stats, so I'm not going to read those off, but I think they were decent too. And then Ty Gibbs. Look, Ty Gibbs is a guy that I constantly bring up on the super speedways. Okay, here's the Eric Jones stats. I found them, Rod. All really good, as much as I remembered, right? 25th in the spring here, not a good finish, but prior to that, 11th, 8th, 4th, 14th in his other 4 starts on this track. So it's been very, very good results for Eric Jones as well. Again, just got to beat those other couple of guys. And then for Ty Gibbs, he's been strong. He almost won at Talladega last year. Only 3 starts here. Finished 34th in this race last season, but his other 2 starts, 9th and 10th place finishes. Playoff guy. One of the 2 guys who made it in on points by being consistent this season, Rod. So give me Eric Jones. Give me John Hunter Nemechek. Give me Ty Gibbs. They're the 3 longest shots in this. You get 3 cars to beat 5 other cars. Only one of them has to beat the other 5, obviously. I like attacking at that angle.
I mean, you already take one of them out with Martin Truex Jr. You take Denny out of the mix because he's going to get mixed up with Kyle Larson, and that's the way that's going to go down. So, yeah, I mean, you really only have to beat the 23-11 guys and Christopher Bell. So, yeah, I like that. I like that approach. We always take that approach on super speedways, and when it pays off, it definitely pays off nice. Speaking of those 23-11 guys, Tyler Reddick for a top 3 finish is at plus 650. This one you're going to have to just take a leap of faith on because the numbers don't necessarily back this up very much for Tyler Reddick, especially in Atlanta, who you look back through this super speedway package era, right? I mean, 28th, 29th, 5th, 27th, 30th. It's been horrendous for Tyler Reddick on these super speedways. But as I made the case earlier for him over McDowell, I mean, for McDowell, he could finish 35th and Tyler Reddick could finish 34th and this cashes. So you don't need to have Tyler Reddick finish inside of the top 3 for it to happen. However, like I said, 11 top 5s so far this season. He had 3 straight top 3 finishes between Indy, Richmond, and Michigan. He had a 2nd place at Chicago, a 3rd place at Nashville. I mean, the guy has been turning it on when it counts. So this is another way in which I think you can get in on him. He won Talladega earlier this year, right? He does have a top 3 finish on a super speedway this season already. So again, 650 for this. This is almost like a long shot top 3 count, but it's a driver that last week gave 90% and still finished top 10 at the Darlington race. That was the hardest race that these guys have raced all season long. I mean, if he's up to 100% on a super speedway race where he could just roll around with these other Toyotas that he's got around him, you know, some of the better Toyotas in the bunch, then I can't see this not going well for Tyler Reddick. Regular season championship, he wrapped up. He had that in the bag. So he's riding that high. There's a lot going right for Tyler Reddick. So I think this is a good week for him to just sort of go out, no pressure, right? You've got those extra points that you carry around. It's a mulligan for round 1. You're pretty much going to get into round 2 should you almost.
We're going to have some conversations about that later. I don't know that there's very many mulligans available this year, Rod.
That's true. However, I think Tyler Reddick may have a good cushion heading into it. So I think he rides that to a decent finish. I think it's a top 3 finish. Hell, I'll even make a case for even more later, but definitely top 3 for Reddick at plus 650. I love that number.
Yeah, I agree. I've got more thoughts on Reddick coming up, so I'll save that. And again, you know, this is a great way if you're attacking this Toyota group and you've got these 3 guys farther, bigger odds. Now you take Tyler Reddick top 3. Well, if he ends up top 3, you're not going to catch the other ones, but you know, it could still end up where he gets a top 3 and they get it. Like, try and create this picture of different ways the race could go while sort of hedging bets and stuff is not a bad way to go about bidding on super speedways. Walter going back to the Kyle Larson thing and saying, man, there has to be a day when Larson will break through on a super speedway. There has to be, right? And there probably will be. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kyle Larson win a super speedway at some point. Again, I truly think he's the greatest race car driver in the world right now. He gets in all these different things at all these different places and just crushes everyone. Like, you look at how good he's been this season. He doesn't always get the finishes, but the talent it's very clear that it's there. He's won a super speedway in the Xfinity series before, so he's not incapable of doing it. And when he does it, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit from guys like Chris, and that's fine. I would love to see it. I'll be very happy when Kyle Larson wins a super speedway. But when something is 1 for 45 and I have the chance to bet against it, I can't not bet against it. I mean, it's just the numbers say he's not going to do well. And we see it throughout the race. He's good. He's good at drafting. He's good at being up there. He's good at the lead and making moves and winning stages. He just can't ever get to the end, which is key. But maybe one day it'll rain and out of nowhere and he ends up getting it or whatever the deal may be. I think eventually he will get one. You would hope that maybe it's a 500, right? And he can add that to his already illustrious resume. But he's not good. And your brother should be reprimanded for this. Dale Sr. pulled it off because he's one of the greatest super speedway racers in the history of the world. I know he had trouble with the Daytona 500, but come on, man. He was good at all. He was great at Daytona and Talladega and everywhere else. So different picture there. But just wanted to touch on that as far as the Larson thing goes. All right, Rod, the moment you've all been waiting for. If you're newer to the show, you hear me talk about Corey LaJoie a lot. I'm a big fan of Corey LaJoie. I get it, right? The reason that I am a big fan of Corey LaJoie is he gave me a lot of money over the years on super speedways, particularly when they made the switch to Atlanta being a super speedway. Because Rod, we gave him out on the show 250 to 1 in July of 2022. He went back and forth with Chase Elliott. He led 19 laps, trading the lead back and forth. 2 laps to go. He's leading the race. Elliott puts him into the wall. We don't cash the bet, but we got the sweat, and we were that freaking close. That is why I bet on Corey LaJoie on all these super speedways. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. You're going to look back at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, and you're going to look, he caused that wreck, which he didn't cause, by the way, because fucking Kyle Larson caused it. But he was involved in the wreck. It doesn't matter who causes it. You got to stay out of the wrecks, right? Sometimes that's how it goes. But you go back to the Daytona 500. He finished 4th place there. Guess what he did? He cashed a lot of bets in that race, right? 13th place here in the spring. So didn't necessarily cash us any of the bets we were hoping for, but he was right there, right inside that, getting close to that top 10, right there. He was 4th place last spring, 5th place in March of 22 as well. He's been good here. Again, we talked about that July 22 race. He just finished 4th in the 500, like I mentioned, top 16 at 4 of the last 6 at Daytona, 4th place last year at Talladega. He is a good super speedway driver. That's why I continue to do it. Look, last week, first ever career top 10 finish outside of a super speedway. Got it done, survived to the end. Heard him talking on Stacking Pennies this week, and he got to the point where he realized you can't just go get it all at 1 second, and maybe it cost him his job, maybe it's cost him a bad season, but you got to slow down. You got to let it come to you. Now he's going to take that mindset into probably what is his favorite track right now because of how he runs there each and every time. Corey LaJoie is going to be up front in this race. He's going to give you a chance. So we're running the car, Rod. Caesar's just added up finishing positions on a few drivers. Corey's one of those. I get it earlier rather than later because it will not stay at this number. 14.5 minus 115. Take the under on that for Corey LaJoie. And then I'm going with the top 10 at plus 350. Top Chevy at 25 to 1. Win the race at 50 to 1. Top 5, top 3. I'll probably personally end up betting. If you want to, good for you. I'm not going to throw them all into this, but he's going to have the opportunity. The top Chevy bet, I think I've hit on him 4 different times between Atlanta, Talladega, Daytona. Like, you don't always hit them, and we didn't win anything at Daytona 2 weeks ago. But when you do, these ladders are very nice. Give me the Corey LaJoie ladder, the car lift. He's really good at super speedways. He's even better at Atlanta. I think we're going to see it again this week, Rod. And this could be the last chance we ever get to do this. I hope not. I think he'll find another ride, whether it's Cup, Xfinity trucks. I think it's not over. I'd love to bet on him in a truck series super speedway. Oh, let's go. But yes, give me some Corey LaJoie.
Yes, give you some Corey LaJoie. I'm going to allow this to happen for another couple of weeks, and then we're done because LaJoie's done too. So we'll have to.
Or is he, Rod? But wait, there's more. Maybe he's back.
Maybe, just maybe. I highly doubt it. Those pennies that he stacked, someone's kicking him over right now, and they're doing it maliciously. So, all right, I'm going to take a group win, and I'm only going to do this because, again, now, they didn't have all of these finishing positions, but when they came out, I would have replaced that with this one. But I like this group anyways, and I like Michael McDowell to win this group. It's Group D over on Bet365. He's at plus 325 to beat Martin Truex Jr., who is retired already. Same price as Michael McDowell, by the way. He's not even in this group. So really, Michael McDowell's in a head-to-head matchup against Ross Chastain and Austin Cindric. I understand that the Austin Cindric one makes people a little queasy because they remember that he's actually halfway decent every once in a while at super speedways. But I don't know. To me, it's like he does it a couple of times, and that's what everybody wants to focus on. And I'm not really all about focusing on that one. I will say that Ross Chastain, right, 7th earlier in this spring. But, I mean, now he's not in the playoffs, right? The Hail Melon is no longer this Trackhouse team. I know they don't have a whole lot more now to go on other than Daniel Suarez being around. But for Ross Chastain, I mean, he finished 7th in the spring, but he was competitive there. 35th in the fall of last season, 13th, and then a couple of second place finishes. He's been good on this track, but this is a different Ross Chastain that we've been seeing all of this season. So I'm not really in on him. I have a feeling that we're kind of, I mean, he's not going to go out with a whimper, but I think he's going to go out with just a little bit more of a whimper than he should, in my opinion. And then for Austin Cindric, look, 22nd at Daytona. He did get 4th in Atlanta here earlier this season. But then you also look at Talladega, he finished 23rd. And then Daytona, he finished 18th earlier a couple of weeks ago. It's nothing to write home about. 3 top 10 finishes this season in 26 starts. His average finish is 28.6. It's like, meh, right? With Michael McDowell, we talked about him earlier. Yeah, he hasn't been finishing well here either. But I think the other two, I guess, because Martin Truex Jr., I'm not even putting in the top 20 in this race. So all Michael McDowell has to do, I think, is finish somewhere in the 20s. And he's going to be able to cash this group, because I think Ross Chastain may end up getting caught up in something. Austin Cindric, he'll probably be around the front, and they'll be, we'll hear his name quite a bit over the broadcast because people like to talk about him at super speedways. But I think at the end of the day, not going to get the greatest of finishes, which, like I said, puts Michael McDowell in line to at least beat this group. Like, I mean, he's not going to beat Tyler Reddick. That's a little lofty, but I think at the very least he can beat retired Martin Truex Jr., Austin Cindric, and Ross Chastain. I'm a little scared of the Ross Chastain one. That's probably the one that I'm the most scared about. But again, you take these and you hope that maybe, Chastain and Cindric get caught up in lap 1 and Martin Truex Jr. decides to pull over, have a chicken sandwich, and watch everybody go by.
Do you think, I was wondering, I remember that there's a minnow pond in, is the pond still there? I think that's the question, because if the pond's still there, we know how much Martin loves to fish. Maybe that's why he wrecked on the second lap of the 7500. Is there a pond in Atlanta? Who knows, Rod? Maybe there is. Maybe Truex will get out of the race early as well. But no, I think great points on all of that. These groups, this is another pretty decent way to bet super speedways, because like it is kind of a true toss-up, right? And these other 3 guys could get collected in a wreck pretty easily. McDowell doesn't even have to do that much to beat them. And you could really make that argument on multiple groups. So I like it. All right, Rod, outright time. I'll try to be quick about this. I kept it down to just 4 guys again this time, even though I've been liking Phil's approach of like 10 different guys. But I'll leave that to the Full Tank with Phil show. Make sure you go check him out. Gave out Corey LaJoie, obviously 50-1 already. But then, Rod, Chase Elliott 14-1. He's been really good at Atlanta. This is his home track. Big deal here, right? He's got to win already. A 6th place, a 13th, a 15th in his 4 starts here. He's been solid. We know how good of a super speedway driver he is. Like favorite-wise, you can make a case for any of those guys. I wanted Kyle Busch, but he's 10-1 at the top of the board. It's like, I just don't like. He's gonna win a race, I think, in the play, especially with how well they're running right now. But is it the first race? Maybe not yet. But Chase Elliott, a 14-1 MGM, really sits right with me. I think it's a good number, a little bit off the radar. They haven't had all the speed and all of this stuff. This is a great place for them to kind of sneak out a win and boom, punch that ticket to the next round and start focusing on that. So Chase Elliott at 14-1, Tyler Reddick 25-1 on BetMGM. You kind of made the case for him earlier already. 5th place here in the spring. A couple of top 5s recently at Daytona, one at Talladega earlier this season. And he's just been one of the hottest drivers in the entire garage. Been on him since the offseason. He's been my guy, holding that big ticket on him to win the championship. Hopefully that will be cashed in later. Regular season champion, running on all this momentum. Hopefully he's feeling better by this weekend, of course. But I think Martin Truex Jr. for sure. I think Tyler Reddick, good bet at 25-1. Ricky Stenhouse, 50-1. Talked about him earlier in the top Chevy bet. Ben Strong here. I like him to win as well. And let's run it back with Harrison Burton at 80-1, Rod. He just won the most recent super speedway race, and you're still disrespecting him at 80-1. It's a bit disrespectful. 2 super speedway races in a row, very hard to do. But he's got that swagger, that confidence. He can do it. He's already done it. Now we're in the playoffs. We got nothing to lose. 80-1. He knows the right moves to make. He did it. He beat Kyle fucking Busch to do it. Why couldn't he do it again? I know Parker Retzlaff not in this race to help him out, much to his chagrin, but I do think Harrison Burton could get it done. So Elliott 14-1, Reddick 25-1, Stenhouse at 50-1, and old Harry Burton at 80-1.
Yeah, I do actually very much love your Reddick pick. That is one of my favorite ones of it as well, just because, like I talked about earlier and a couple of times so far this episode, I feel like this is just a Reddick thing, and I actually feel like it's a 23-11 thing, which is why I'm giving out Bubba Wallace 28-1 right now over on Bet365. I think he's still at that number. At least I hope he's still at that number. That was the best number I could find. He's 25-1 in some of the other books out there that if you can't get Bet365, then 25-1 is still out there for you. I know it's not really as sexy as that, but look, 5th place earlier this year in Atlanta, 5th place at Daytona. Bad day at Talladega. He crashed out of that one, but 6th place at Daytona. If you are within the top 7 cars at these speedway tracks, right, you can very easily duck out and try to win one of these races. So, and this is not just based on that as well. I mean, he's been good at super speedways this season, but I'm telling you right now, last week was not the way that he needed that to end, right? He did not need to see Chase Briscoe cross that finish line. You want to talk about just utter and total defeat. Now Bubba Wallace has nothing left to drive for other than what he always has to drive for, right? I mean, he's not in the playoffs. He's not going to be a championship contender. So now he can just go out and drive and not worry about points and not worry about positioning in the playoffs. He could just go out there and drive. Now he's going to try to score points for his team, and he's going to try to score points for his owners, right? Because that's really kind of where they're at there too. But I mean, for Bubba Wallace to have been somewhere within the top 7 cars in these, I just feel like when we talk about Tyler Reddick being good, you got to talk about Bubba Wallace being good. And then you talk about the Gibbs cars being good. Talk about Toyotas being together on this one. There's a lot less Toyotas than there are Chevys, so they tend to work together a little more, and they tend to try to stay together a little more, which is why Toyotas sort of stream here and there and around. So I like his prospects, and he's been running pretty well lately too. 7th place at Nashville, 10th place at Pocono, 5th at Indy, 4th at Richmond. Bad day at Michigan, right? Started 5th and ended up finishing 26th, but 6th at Daytona, started on the pole and was a pit stop away, in my opinion, from being a contender for that race. Ended up 16th in that one. If they would have pitted, I think that whole race would have been different for Bubba Wallace. His whole playoff picture would be different at this. We know how good he is on Talladega and super speedways altogether. So Bubba Wallace 28-1 to sort of be a non-playoff driver, as we talked about it earlier, to win this race. And then look, if you think Reddick can win this race, and I think Bubba can win this race, why not 23-11 as a team? 11-1. You get both Bubba and you get Reddick. So either one of them wins, you win, right? So I think that's a good place to put it as well. So 23-11 is at 11-1 to win this race. I like it.
Yeah, no argument for me. Bubba, great super speedway racer. 28-1, way too big of a number for as good as he is on the super speedways, and I think he could definitely get it done.
Indeed. Speaking of getting it done, I got the graphic done on time today. So get out your pen and paper. It's time to go over the bets for this Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. I'm sorry. Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. Cody started you out with Chase Elliott over Kyle Larson, taking the first commandment of super speedway racing into account at -130. I gave you Tyler Reddick over McDowell at -130 as well. Cody said that Haley at +425, Hemrick at 7-1, and BJ McLeod at 10-1 would be his top 10 picks. I said SVG. SVG at +350 was my pick. Cody gave you Austin Cindric, Harrison Burton. I almost said Jeb Burton. Harrison Burton at 25-1, Austin Cindric at 8-1 to be top Fords, and Zane Smith at 80-1, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 20-1 to be top Chevys. I said Daniel Suarez, mi amigo, would be a top 5 car at +275. I can say that because he and I are a little bit the same in some aspects. And then Cody gave you John Hunter Nemechek at 25-1 and Eric Jones at 12-1, those Legacy Motor Club cars as top Toyotas. And then, of course, Gibbs at 8-1 as well. I said Tyler Reddick would be a top 3 car at +650. Cody is riding the Corey LaJoy car lift at least one more time before it expires on him, taking him as the top Chevy at 25-1, top 10 at 350, and then to win at 50-1, and under 14.5 at -115. I said McDowell would win Group D over on 365 over Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, and the recently retired yet still driving around for some reason, Martin Truex Jr. Cody said Chase Elliott at 14-1, Tyler Reddick at 25-1, Ricky Stenhouse at 50-1, and Mr. Harrison Burton at 80-1 would be the winners of this race, or possible winners of this race. I said Bubba Wallace at 28-1 would be one of the winners. And then, of course, 23-11 as a team at 11-1 to win this race.
Is Daniel Suarez that short? I didn't realize you guys had that much in common, Rob.
Actually, I think no, he's actually a little bit taller than me. I've stood next to him. Tyler Reddick, on the other hand,
you might be taller than Tyler Reddick.
100%, I'm taller than Tyler Reddick. I know this for a
He's
fact.
A little guy.
Oh, dude, I stood next to him and I was like, "What? Put me in the car. I can do this. Let's go." But yeah, no, gotta love Tyler Reddick. And if I see you again, Tyler, I would love to have a beer with you and talk about how we classed up above our pay grade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
No
outkicked
kidding.
my coverage with my wife, and he outkicked his coverage with his.
Same. Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you there. So same here. But yeah, Tyler Reddick, probably one of the coolest guys in the garage to have a beer with, honestly.
I bet. Oh, 100%. I would love to do that. So, all right, Cody, when we're in Las Vegas for the race, we're going to have beers with Tyler Reddick.
There you go. There you go, Rod. Let's do it.
Beautiful. All right. Well, then that is it for the Cup Series. You know, it's funny, Cody, because as much as sometimes we sit here on Tuesdays, I feel like it goes by pretty quickly. Like, here I am at the end of it. I'm like, we're done already. What the hell? And yet, you know, I know it's been an hour, and I still feel like we just started.
There you go. Laura used to be neighbors with Tyler Reddick. Tyler's from her town, Old Corning, California. Hell yeah. Hook us up, Laura. Jeez, get us in touch with the guy. Come on.
I know. Laura, I got to have beers with you because you're not that far away from me, actually. So.
There you go. There you go. All right. Look at that. Created friendships everywhere. Anyways, yes, it does go by quick, Rod. It's like, you know, I was sort of like, God, not a ton of stuff. Then you start filling out the card and it gets nice and full. And then we're an hour and 12 minutes into it. So here we are. And we get to do it all again tomorrow for the Xfinity Series. Let's go. Super excited for that. Going to be a lot of fun. Same thing again, all over again. So pumped for that. And then stick around later this week because we're going to fill out our playoff brackets and go through all of that and see who we have standing. Well, who I have in the Final Four. You already know Tyler Reddick's going to be the last man standing, of course. Yeah, in the meantime, Rod, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeb. You can find all my stuff there. There's a lot of it, a lot more coming out. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Keep reading those articles. I've already found another Cup Series bet I like. You have to check out the Cup Series betting article, sportsgamblingpodcast.com. It'll be out tomorrow, and get the bonus bet there.
Yes, do all of that. I'm sorry, I was concentrating on the chat over here. I was like thinking around. I was saying goodbye to everybody on the chat in my head. I was like, oh, bye guys. But I'll say bye to you that are listening out there, not in the chat. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. And there's a lot of it. Football season now in full swing. So Sportsbook Review is back out there again. In between media, you can check out the back road for this week as well. So tons of stuff happening for the rest of the week. And of course, the rest of the season. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for Xfinity. And until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of whatever you're doing. And until then, let's go racing and let it ride.